Calling case 2458247. People of the state of Michigan versus R.T. Lewis Landry. Defendant is charged in count 1 assault with a dangerous weapon, count 2 child abuse, third degree. Defendant has an habitual and second offense notice. Appearances for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jacob Bloomers on behalf of the people, P77307.
And good morning, Your Honor. Coral Water appearing on behalf of R.T. Landry, P41508.
Your name for the record.
I'm at R.T. Landry.
There's date, time, set for preliminary examination. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Judge.
How many witnesses?
2.
Any preliminary matters before you call this?
My understanding is there was a preliminary matter for the defense.
Your Honor, Mr. Landry is requesting the court would grant him a very short adjournment so that he can retain counsel.
Well, you should have did that before today.
I didn't have the charges.
Sorry?
I didn't have the charges that
What
were
do you mean you
against
didn't
me.
have the charges? Weren't you arraigned? You
I
went
was
to an arraignment
I
before
didn't
you
get
got
any
here.
paperwork.
Excuse me?
I did not get any paperwork. I didn't know the actual
You
charges.
understand the English language, don't you?
I did not.
You don't understand the English language?
I understand the English language. I didn't know if it was first degree, second. I didn't know what the exact charges were.
What does that have to do with you getting an attorney before today?
Because they wanted to know what were the charges. So the
What attorney?
Lewis and Dickenstein, them, and it was a couple other ones that I was prospectively looking at, but they wanted to know the
Sir,
exact
if you want to get an
charges.
attorney, you need an attorney before today. Are people ready to proceed? Please give your name and the spelling of your name to the young lady seated there. Tell her your name and spell it for her, please. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? How old are you? Okay, please have a seat right there. You know the difference between telling the truth and telling a lie? If I told you I was wearing a mask on my face right now, I'd be telling the truth or telling a lie. If I told you I had a hair full of hair, in fact, I had a jerry curl dripping full of jerry juice, would I be telling the truth or telling a lie? All right, and you promise to tell the truth, correct? Okay, maybe give me credit.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Holloway. Could you please state your full name again for the record?
Samantha Shea.
And Ms. Holloway, is it okay if I call you Samantha? Okay. So important, just kind of a few ground rules while we're here today. One of the important things is that we make sure that we speak up so that the court can hear what we're saying, okay? And another thing is, make sure that if I ask you something you don't understand, or if defense counsel asks you something you don't understand, you let us know, okay?
Okay.
If I use a word you don't understand, will you let us know that you don't understand the word?
Yes.
And if I ask you something and you don't know the answer, please know that it's okay to tell me that you don't know, okay?
Okay.
And likewise, if I ask you something and you don't remember, it's okay to let me know if you don't remember. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, Samantha, do you know an individual by the name of R.T. Landry?
Yes.
How do you know him?
My dad.
Okay. Do you see him in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Could you please just point to him and tell us what he's wearing?
Black, green, and pink shirt.
Okay. Let the record reflect the witness to identify the person defendant.
So noted.
Okay. And did something happen between you and Mr. Landry that brings you here today?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me when that happened?
No.
Well, let me ask you, do you know the exact date it happened?
No.
Do you know, was it this month or a different month?
Yes, it was this month.
It was this month? Okay. So can you tell me just in like one sentence, just give me the short version, what is it that happened that brings you here today?
He hit me with an extension cord.
Okay. So you say that happened this month, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so take me back to the day that this happened. Prior to him hitting you, what was going on?
He had came back from work and I guess he was drunk. I could tell the way he was talking. And
Okay.
there was
I'm sorry. I was going to object to the characterization of my client being drunk, but I'm not sure if she's going into some of the descriptive things that might clarify that.
I'll get somebody to put it out.
Okay, as you testified, you think he was drunk. Can you tell us how he was acting?
It was just in a way, his voice sounded and the way he was talking.
Okay. So you say he came home, and what happened when he got home?
He came upstairs and he was talking about stuff.
What was, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. What was he talking about?
He was talking about, like, there was dishwater in the sink, I think 2 days ago, and there's a dish on the, there was one dish on the sink, and he was mad about that. And he said this morning before he left for work, he found a gown in the washing machine, and he thought I had just washed that one gown. But before that, the day before that, I had took my sheets off my bed and I put them, I went and washed them. And one time when I was washing my clothes, I put too many clothes in the dryer and the dryer broke.
Okay.
So
So sorry, finish your sentence.
so I split up the clothes. I put the first group of clothes in the dryer, and I put the second group of clothes, but I forgot something in the washing machine, and I didn't know. So
Okay. So when you say he's talking about this stuff, how did he appear? Did he appear calm, angry, or something else?
mad,
Okay. Was he speaking in like a normal voice like I am, or something else?
a little bit
Okay.
higher,
Higher? What do you mean higher?
a little bit louder.
Okay. And so where are you when this is happening?
I was upstairs in my room.
Okay. And so he's angry about this stuff. What happens next?
We go downstairs to the basement because he was showing me the gown that I had left in the washing machine.
Okay.
And I had explained to him why I had left the things in the washing machine. And I had a white blanket, and usually he lets the white soak for 2 days. And then I had put the blanket in the dirty clothes because I thought he might want to do that again. And the day before that, I was changing my sheets. I had grabbed a different blanket instead of washing the white blanket. And he was like, "Why did you do that?" So I explained to him. I thought he might want it to soak like he normally does.
Okay. What happened next?
He just started talking about how I forgot, but he started talking again.
Okay. So you say he started talking again. What happened after that?
He gradually started yelling and stuff, and then he started talking about this. He always does this thing where he uses my mom's side of the family as a bad influence and stuff, and talking about how they're drug addicts and stuff. Like my mom,
Okay. Are you still in the basement at this point?
yes.
Okay. So he's going on about your mom's family, your mom. What happens next?
He continues talking about it, and then like kind of yelling and stuff. And then he had me sort the clothes, like the towels, the whites, his clothes and my clothes.
Okay. What happened after you sorted the clothes?
He just kept talking, yelling and stuff.
Okay. What happened next?
The same thing that went on for, I don't know how long, because we were in the basement and it was getting dark outside. But we had eventually went back upstairs and he took my phone and a bunch of other electronics that I had.
Okay. So he took your phone and other electronics. Was he saying anything when he's taking those?
Yeah, he was basically still talking about stuff he was talking about before.
Okay.
And
then what, if anything, happened next?
he went back downstairs.
Okay. Did he have your electronics and stuff with him when he went downstairs or no?
I'm not sure where he put the other stuff, but it was probably his room. But I think he had my phone on this counter thing, and then
Your Honor, I know this isn't material to these proceedings, but I'm just going to object to the witness guessing about things that may have occurred as speculative.
Same. Just tell us what you know for certain. You know for sure, okay?
As we talked about at the beginning, if you don't know, you're not quite sure, let me know, okay? Does that make sense?
Yes,
All right. So, after you said he went back downstairs, correct?
yes.
What happened after he went back downstairs?
Yeah, so he told me to come take the password off my phone, and after he saw, like, I had a message when the phone was unlocked. Somebody had sent me a message a few minutes ago, but I didn't know who it was from, and I didn't want to check it, so I just left it alone. And then I put the phone down, and then I didn't go back upstairs. He continued like yelling and stuff, and then he started hitting the counter, and he hit the garbage can and stuff,
Okay, so what room are you in the house then?
like the kitchen.
Okay. So you say hitting the counter, hitting the garbage can, what happens next?
I eventually go back upstairs, and then I guess he saw like the message that I had or something. He said I was telling his business. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Your Honor, again, I'm going to object to what,
Yes.
yeah, I guess, and saying what he saw.
Sustain. You can tell us what your dad said. He said,
He said I told his business in some type of way. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Okay, so he said that, and you guys are back upstairs at this point, or downstairs?
Upstairs.
Okay, what happens next?
And I didn't want to ask because I didn't want to make him even more mad, but he said I knew what he was talking about, but I didn't have an idea of what he was talking about. My friend,
Well, let's just move it, so you had an idea what he was talking about, so
Yes.
what happens next?
I didn't say anything about that, but he grabs an extension cord I had plugged into the wall. At first, it was a phone charger, and he had grabbed the phone charger out the extension cord, and I was sitting on this beanbag, like kind of in a corner of my closet, so I couldn't really do anything.
Okay, so, you said at first it was a phone charger,
Yes,
can you describe the phone charger?
it was like just oranges colored, like that thing on her desk, like that tape.
Okay, it's an orangish color, you say? And, is it just a cord, is there more to it, or something else?
He took the back piece off of it.
Okay, and so what, he has that phone charger, you said at first, what happens?
And he was yelling and he hit me with it.
Okay,
And then,
where on your body did he hit you?
right here on my arm, it was a bruise here.
Okay, and how many times did he hit
I don't really remember, but I was
Was it one time or more than one time, if you
at least two.
remember? Okay, so he's hitting you with this phone charge, correct? You
Yes.
said he took the, like, base off, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so what happens after he hits you with the phone charge?
he starts yelling again, and then he tosses it down, and then he grabs the extension cord out of the wall, and then hits me with the extension cord.
Okay, so the extension cord, can you describe that for us?
It was like stiff. Like, it was like the color of that one that's under her desk.
Can you tell me what color that is? Just so we're making a record here, so for clarity, can you just tell us what color?
Like beige-ish.
Okay. And you say it was stiff. Now is this like just a cord? Are there ends on the cord? What can you describe it?
Just a cord.
Okay. And you say what did he do once he had that extension cord?
He hit me with it
Okay. Did he hit you one time or more than one time?
more than two.
More than two? Okay. Where on your body did he hit you?
Here,
Oh, wait, and stop you there. When you say here, can you tell me the words?
my left ring finger,
Okay.
and my inner thigh, and above my knee.
Okay. And is that your right leg or your left leg?
My left, right.
You're right?
Yes.
Okay,
And then on my calf, on my left leg.
okay. Did you sustain any injuries from this?
Yes.
Okay. Were pictures taken of those injuries when you saw the pictures?
Yes.
Okay. Holding order, pre-marked as people's proposed exhibits 1, 2, and 3, showing the defense.
Yeah, Coach, can you make?
So I've handed you what are people's proposed exhibits 1, 2, and 3. Can you just take a look at those, please? You recognize those?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me what they are?
Scratches.
Okay. Are those the bruises and scratches you sustained from getting hit?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me just one by one, starting with the one mark number 1, what part of your body you can see?
My left calf.
Number 2.
My inner thigh. Okay.
Okay.
On the right.
On the right leg, and number 3.
My knee. On the right knee. No, no. Above my calf right there.
Okay. And are those fair and accurate depictions of those injuries?
Yes.
All right. People move for admission of exhibits 1, 2, 3.
Any objection?
Not for exam purposes.
Admit it?
Yeah, published.
Yes, please.
Okay. So you said he hit you more than 2 times with that extension cord.
Yes.
Well, you said he was yelling at you, is that correct?
Yes.
What, do you remember what he was yelling?
Stop telling my business.
Okay. And so how does that, him hitting you, how does that stop?
I guess he just stopped yelling. And he did see the mark on my knee. He told me to go downstairs to get some peroxide. And then we went downstairs, I was in the bathroom, and he was still yelling.
And so what happened next?
I eventually went back upstairs after he was done yelling. And I went and sat back down on the beanbag. And I guess a few minutes later, well not I guess, but a few minutes later, he went out the house and he went to his car and he was on the phone with somebody.
Okay.
And he had left and he came back. He had went to I think he went to the store.
Oh, so if you don't know where he went, we'll move on from there. You say he left though? Okay, so he left the house. What are you doing after he left the house?
I had this phone my auntie gave me. Originally, it was for school because that phone was faster than my phone. And my phone that I had from my dad was messed up. So she had gave me that phone.
Okay.
But I held on to it. And so I was texting her and showing her pictures of the mark he had left. And this was before I had saw the other marks.
Okay. So what's your aunt's name?
Kimberly Miles.
Okay. So you were telling her what was going on, and you said you were texting her pictures, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened next?
He had came back and the phone that I had, it was dying. So I had to go get the charger and plug it out. But a few minutes later, he had came back, but he didn't get out the car. And
What happened next?
the reason I think he came back,
I'll stop you there. You don't know why he came back, and just stick to what you do know, what he did. You tell us anything he said or anything he did that you saw, okay? So what happens next?
when he came back, he was in the driveway, he didn't get out the car, but he was on the phone with somebody.
Okay.
And I was still texting my auntie a little bit. She told me to turn off the phone so it could charge, but I didn't want to because I was scared. And the phone was charging a bit slow. So it would be a few minutes before and it got to a percentage I wanted to be at. And at a certain point, I called my auntie, and I was telling her what happened over the phone too. I just messages.
So that night, did anything else happen between you and your dad, like what you just talked about?
Yes. I had eventually just turned off my lights and went to sleep and lay down. And he had came back in the house a few minutes later. And I'm not normally a light sleeper, but when I heard him come to the house, I had woke up. And he came back upstairs, and he got mad that my room wasn't really clean after he had got done yelling at me and stuff. And I didn't have any pillowcases on my pillows, and there was a basket of sheets up there, and he got mad. And he started yelling at me again, and a few minutes later, he called this woman, I didn't know who she was.
Your Honor, I know that we have to give some leeway here, but I think we may be going into an area that may not be relevant to the proceedings.
I don't know if it is or not.
Okay.
I don't know if this woman, yeah. I'll get a little bit back.
Okay.
But he was on the phone with her for a while, and then I guess he was trying to get her to be on his side.
Your Honor,
Well,
I want to object.
thank you. He's talking with this person on the phone for a while, correct? What happens next?
He eventually hangs up, and then he's yelling a bit more, and then he's like, "Where's the extension cord?" He goes downstairs because he took the extension cord with him after he was done getting. He took it with him, and he put it somewhere. He lost it. He didn't know what it was, so he was downstairs looking for it. He was like, "Where is it? Where is it?" And he was asking me, like I knew, so I was like, "I don't know." He was just looking for it. He found another cord, and it looked bigger than the extension cord, and it had stuff on it, like I don't know how to describe it, but it had stuff on it, like stuff you could plug into the wall and stuff.
Okay, do you remember what color this extension cord was?
It was black.
So he got that other cord, what happened?
He had it in his hand for a while, and he kept he was coming around the bed because he was on this side of the bed and I was on this side of the bed, and he kept coming around with it and stuff. And he kept getting closer to me, and he was yelling, and then he would eventually go back to his side of the bed, and then he would come back around and stuff.
Okay, what was he yelling?
I don't really remember, but it was calling me names.
Okay. So you're kind of going back and forth around the bed, correct?
Yes.
What happens next?
He had eventually, he put the cord down, and then he had touched me, but he didn't hit me. He tried to hug me, and he put arm around me, the wall touched him, but I didn't want to do that, so I pulled away. And then he eventually stopped yelling and went back downstairs. And I think he was on the phone.
Okay, but you don't know. So he goes back downstairs. What do you do at that point?
The phone I took it out from where I was hiding it, and I started texting my auntie again.
Okay. And you texted with your auntie. Did you have any more interactions with your dad that night?
No.
Okay. So did you, after you were done talking to your auntie, what happened next?
I tried to go to sleep, but I couldn't for a little while. I eventually went to sleep, but since I was scared, I kept waking up every 2 hours, I think. Every 2 hours, I checked the time. And before he had went downstairs, before we had went to sleep, it was around between 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. So what happened next morning?
I woke up and his alarm clock was going off, but he wasn't getting up. And I was texting my auntie to see what we would do, because me and my auntie had made this plan to, while he was going for it, to call the police.
Okay. So, what happens next?
I asked my auntie what I should do because he was getting up for his alarm clock. And I was like, should I wake him up? And she didn't respond. So I eventually just went downstairs and woke him up. And he was like, okay, well, get dressed and stuff because I'm taking you to work with me. And I was like, okay,
Okay. Is it normal for you to go to work with him?
no,
Okay. Did you ever go to work with him? Like, so let me ask you, you said this was this month, correct? This is July?
yes,
Okay, so are you in school right now?
no.
Okay, so are you typically at home all day or do you go somewhere? What are you doing when you're not in school?
Sometimes I'm at home all day and sometimes like 1 or 2 days. My grandma came and picked me up once. She came and picked me up and we went to Dairy Queen and she took me back home.
Okay. Had your dad taken you with him to work before this day? This summer?
Not in the summer, I don't think.
Okay. So you said he told you were going to work with him, correct?
Yes.
What happened next?
I went and got in the shower and I decided to let the phone charge while I was in the shower. But I was scared too, but he didn't find it. And so I went upstairs and got dressed and stuff and he went and got in the shower and then we eventually left. And then we got to his job. And sat, at first, he had taken me down to the basement with him to his little office.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop you, just ask you back, going back to when you got dressed, what did you wear?
I had some light blue jeans and it was a rip in my jeans here. And I had a gray t-shirt with Mickey Mouse on it and a black hoodie.
Was there any conversation you had with your dad about what you were wearing?
He told me to put on pants.
Okay, were you wearing, when he said that, were you wearing pants originally?
I was in the middle of deciding.
Okay. Did he say anything about why you should put on pants?
No,
So you went to work with your dad. Were there any more interactions like we talked about earlier with your dad at that point?
no, but his coworker, I don't know what I'll call her, but her name is Luke. She,
So I'm gonna stop you, don't tell us anything she said, I can see. Is there anything else about what happened that you wanna tell us? Did the police eventually get called?
yes,
Okay, did you call them?
no, Luke did.
Who's that?
Luke or my auntie, I'm not sure which one.
Okay, so you're not sure if they called the police? All right, and did you see your dad get arrested, were you there or no?
No.
Okay, no more questions, Judge.
Cross exam.
Thank you. I just have a few questions. Good morning, Ms. Howard. Now, you've indicated that you were at home with your dad. Were you at home by yourself initially?
Yes, before he came back.
Okay, and then your dad came home and you described an exchange with you and your dad that takes place in the basement and then that goes upstairs is it to your bedroom?
Yes, at first, when he came back at first, we were in my room and then we went downstairs to the basement, then we came back up.
Okay, and you indicated that you were hit with a phone charging cord?
Yes.
Okay, and what type of phone do you have?
Mhm.
An Android phone? Is it like a Samsung, or do you know?
Just Android.
Just an Android, so this would be a phone cord for an Android phone?
Yes,
Okay, and you've indicated that that cord was taken out of the wall and you were struck with it. Did you say 2 times?
at least 2.
At least 2. And the area that you recall being struck was is that your left arm?
Yes,
Your left arm? Okay, and you described an area on your left arm, is that and you probably don't know this term, so I'll say, is it the area from your elbow to your wrist that you described, or that you're talking about, where you were hit with the cord?
Like from here to here.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you're pointing, and you're pointing to your elbow and then to your wrist, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the area that you say that you were struck, is that on the inside or the outside of your arm? This would be the inside or the outside?
The top of here.
The top, and you're pointing to the inside of your arm, where your arm bends in that area?
No. Up here.
Up here,
Yeah, on the top of my arm.
the top of your arm, and that's in the area again between your wrist and your elbow, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you've indicated that that cord, it leaves a bruise?
Yes.
Okay, and when did you first see that bruise that the cord left?
Maybe the next day.
The next day?
Yes.
Okay, and you indicated that you were then hit with an extension cord,
Yes.
and you said the cord was beige, correct?
Yes.
And then was that cord also plugged into the wall?
Yes. The charger was plugged into the extension cord.
Okay, and you indicated you were hit more than 2 times with the extension cord?
Yes.
Okay, and you were shown some pictures, but you didn't describe for this record what was in those pictures, so I'm gonna ask you. The area that you say that you were hit with the extension cord, you've indicated it's your right leg, correct? Or is it your left leg?
Yes. Above my knee on my right leg.
Above your knee on your right leg. And you also described, when you were hit with that cord, is it your testimony that it caused a bruise, a welt? What did it cause?
It was scratched and it was bleeding. And when it first happened, the skin, it looked like it was coming off.
Okay, and then you described being hit on your calf?
Yes.
Okay, and did that also bleed, or is that a bruise?
It was like a print.
A print. And when you say a print, do you mean an imprint from the cord?
Yes.
Okay, and so let me ask you this, the bruise that you described on your arm, is that a round bruise or is that an imprint from the cord?
A round bruise.
Okay, and then the bruise that you say you received on your knee from the cord, is that also a round bruise and you described it as a scratch?
Yes, there was a scratch and then the scratch was like on top of the bruise. There was a bruise around the scratch.
Okay, and then the area that you say was hit with the cord on your calf, that's a round bruise, correct? Or is that an imprint of the cord bruise?
It's the imprint.
Okay,
And then also here, my inner thigh.
on your inner thigh, is that a bruise or a scratch?
Imprint.
Imprint, okay. And so you indicated that after this happens, you go to sleep. At some point, you go to sleep, correct, for the night?
Yes.
And then the next morning, you wake up and go to work with your father.
Yes.
Okay, and it's your testimony that these injuries that you say you received were caused by a bone cord and an extension cord and not a belt?
No.
Okay. And is it your testimony that you were getting dressed to go to work with your dad?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have any discussion with your dad about what you were going to do at work with him, whether you're going to be working?
No.
Okay. And your testimony is that you were told to put on pants?
Yes.
Okay. And your father's place of employment, is it an office with other people?
It's a nursing home.
It's a nursing home. May I have just one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Can you redirect?
Just briefly, Judge. When he was hitting you with the extension cord, how was he holding it? Was he holding it like long, like a whip, or did he have it folded over, or what? Can you describe how he's holding it?
Put it like a belt.
Folded like a belt? Okay. So, were you being hit with ends or with the area where it was looped or folded or something else?
Where it was hooped.
Okay. No more questions, Judge.
Okay, so Ms. Holloway, you live with your dad?
Yes.
Does anyone else live with you and your dad?
No,
Okay, so your dad and your mom are not together, is that right?
no, my mom died.
Your mom passed away, I'm sorry. Sorry. How old were you when your mom passed away?
8,
8, okay. And you're how old now?
13.
You're 13, okay. So is it fair to say that fair to say that your dad and your mom's family don't really get along?
No, certain members, like maybe my grandma and my mom got along.
You mentioned somebody named Kimberly Miles as your aunt, is that right?
Yes,
Is that Kimberly Miles the prosecutor? Is she a prosecuting attorney?
I think so.
You think so? Okay. All right. Small world. She's on your mom's side of the family or your dad's side of the family?
Someone's side.
Mom's side. Okay. Would you consider your dad pretty strict? He tells you a lot of things to do and he fusses and hollers at you when you don't do them?
We think medium.
Medium? Okay. You like living with your dad?
Sometimes.
Would you rather live with someone else?
Not me.
Which auntie?
Kimberly.
Kimberly Miles? Okay. She's a sweet lady. It's not the same. Okay, all right. All right. Do you have any other brothers or sisters?
I have a brother.
Older or younger?
Older.
How old is he?
13.
13.
He's
He's
a
a
year.
twin?
No, he's a year older. His birthday is in August.
Okay. Do you have the same mom and dad?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yes,
So-
Your Honor, I have one follow-up question.
Go ahead.
Ms. Holloway, you mentioned your aunt Kimberly Miles. She doesn't get along with your dad, correct? They do not get along, right?
No.
Okay. And Ms. Miles has she attempted to get custody of you from your dad before?
Yes.
Okay, how many times?
Once.
Okay. And I noted that when you described what was happening with you and your aunt, you said you had been planning something. What had you been planning?
Like for the police to come get me.
Okay, and when did you decide, when did you start making that plan?
The night it happened.
And just, Judge, I'm sorry, Judge is asking you about your living situation with your father. Just tell us what your address is.
20237 Gallagher.
And is that in the city of Detroit?
Yes.
Thank you. No more questions, Judge.
Okay, so when you were hit with the phone cord, you said that was in the arm, is that right?
Yes.
Nobody took pictures of the bruise on your arm? Did you show anybody the pictures of, did you show anybody the bruise on your arm?
I did. I showed a police officer and my auntie, but when I had showed the police officer, it wasn't like fully there, but it was still coming in, so you couldn't really see it.
Okay, that was with the phone cord, right? Phone cord. It's like an iPhone,
No, usually.
Android, okay, that's not a real thick cord, that's a little flimsy cord, right?
But it was like made out of rubber, so it was kind of thick.
Did you have, what kind of shirt did you have on at the time of this happened?
It was just long yellow shirt.
A long yellow shirt, long sleeve?
No, it was short sleeve.
It was short sleeve.
Long.
Okay. And what kind of pants did you have on? If any?
I had some black shorts.
Yeah,
Red,
black
red,
shorts.
red.
Okay. Any questions based on my questions?
No, Your Honor.
No, you're out.
Okay, thank you. You may step down. Any other witnesses for the people?
Yes, Your Honor, the people call Kimberly Miles.
Give your name and spelling to the young lady, seated there. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat. The witness box next to me. Your voice up nice and loud and speak to that microphone and to your left. The one with the white on.
This one.
Yes. Great. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Miles. Could you please state your full name again for the record?
Kimberly Sharika Miles.
And Ms. Miles, do you know an individual by the name of Samantha Holloway?
I do.
How do you know her?
That is my niece.
How is she?
My sister's only child and daughter.
Okay. And do you know an individual by the name of Archie Landry?
I do.
And how do you know him?
He is the father of my niece,
Okay. So that's Samantha.
Samantha, yes.
Do you see Mr. Landry here in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you please point to him and just tell the court what he's wearing?
He's right there with green and purple.
Okay. The record reflect that he's identified the person defendant.
So no,
Something happened involving your niece Samantha and Mr. Landry that was here today.
Yes.
Can you tell me just briefly what that is?
She contacted me, and told me that, he beat her with an extension cord in the charter court.
Okay. Do you recall what date that was?
The date that it happened, I believe, was the 10th or the 11th,
Okay. Of
July.
that's this month?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you were contacted by Samantha and she told you that. What did you do after hearing that?
I wanted to call the police immediately. Samantha told me that she was scared because the doors were locked from the inside with deadbolts, and she wanted to try to wait until the next morning.
Okay. So did you call the police that night?
I called the police the next morning.
Okay. Have you ever been involved in any incidents like this before involving Mr. Landry and Samantha?
I have contacted CPS on Mr. Landry's report.
Okay. How would you describe your relationship with Mr. Landry?
When my sister was alive, I was the middle mediator between the both of them. At one point, I even had custody of Samantha while they were having a nasty custody dispute. I've always been the go-between for him. And then since my sister passed away, the relationship is one-sided, but cordial. And he,
whose relationship is one-sided before?
our treat's relationship is more one-sided, but cordial
With
me.
you. Okay. Since your sister passed away, have you ever tried to get custody of Samantha?
I did. I actually had my niece when my sister passed away. Our bliss, I call him Art, I'm sorry. He was reaching out to get her to spend the night. She didn't want to. She was in a panicked state and just started telling me a bunch of stuff that he's done.
So I'll stop you there. So that was, how long ago was that?
That was after my sister passed away in November of 2020.
Okay. So after the police were called, in this incident back on the 10th of 11th, did you have any direct contact with Samantha after the police were called?
I was there
Okay.
when I contacted the police.
Okay. Did she end up going with you after
Yes.
Mr. Landry was arrested? Okay. Did you observe any injuries or anything on her after?
I did.
Okay. Can you describe what you saw?
Yes, her knee was very bruised, blackish, bluish. She had welts all along the upside of her leg and on parts of her calf. There was even a very deep indentation shaped in the shape of the cord on the inside of her thigh.
How long have you known Mr. Landry?
I've known him since Samantha's conception.
Okay, so we're going back to 14 years.
Yes, sir. 13.
Okay, and have you ever known him to drink to the point of inebriation?
Yes.
Is that something you see frequently or rarely?
I'm going to object because I don't see the relevance in this case. And I believe that, first of all, her testimony, I believe, is prejudiced. And I don't believe it's relevant in this case. So I'm objecting.
Response?
Well, certainly, I'm not going to debate whether Ms. Miles is prejudiced against the defendant, but I do believe it is relevant, as the plaintiff stated, that you're drunk to her, and it's relevant as whether or not Ms. Miles, who has known him for 13 years, she testified, as whether she's known him to get inebriated frequently or not.
Well, whether he gets inebriated frequently or not is not relevant, but if he was inebriated on the day that we're talking about, then that would certainly be relevant. So, narrow your question to that.
Fair enough, Judge. Did you have any direct contact with Mr. Landry back on the 10th?
I reached out to him and asked if Samantha could come over for the day to try to, yes.
Was that when was that before or after she had?
After.
Okay, so this is, do you remember about what time this was?
Probably about 10 o'clock, 10, maybe 10 or 9. It was earlier in the morning.
Okay, so that was the next morning?
Correct.
Okay, and what did he say to you?
He said, no, not now.
Okay, anything else that you guys discussed?
No, that was it that day.
Did you notice anything about his language as you spoke to him?
He texted, he didn't call.
Okay. Did you see him at all that day?
Later, when the police were contacted, I saw him there, yes.
Did you notice anything peculiar about him when you saw him?
When I saw him briefly and looked away. I was nervous.
Thank you, Judge. No more questions.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Miles.
Good afternoon.
Now, you've indicated that you've called CPS numerous times on Mr. Landry. Is
No, that is not correct.
How many times have you called?
I called CPS one at a time on Ms. Jones.
Okay, what about police reports? How many police reports have you filed?
I filed one other police report on Ms. Jones.
And was that in relation to the CPS case?
Yes, it was.
And when was this police report and the CPS case initiated?
This police report and this CPS case that we are in court for today,
No, the one prior to today.
and one previous prior to that was in November of 2020.
Okay, and so you've indicated that you have a cordial relationship with Mr. Landry.
Yes,
Okay, and so do you and Mr. Landry talk on the phone?
we've had conversations.
Okay, and this is over from what, 2020 to the present? We've had
No.
conversation?
Because when I contacted CPS in 2020 and the police, he took her and I didn't see her for a year and a half.
Okay, so for a year and a half, you and Mr. Landry had no conversation, correct?
Correct.
And you were upset about that, were you not?
No, I was not. I was scared for Samantha.
Okay, but you weren't upset that you weren't seeing her?
I was disturbed. I was sad. I was not seeing her. I was not upset.
Okay, and then after the year and a half,
Do you and Mr. Landry become friends again?
We did not become friends, we became cordial. She allowed her to start coming back over and allowed me to help with her care.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. When you say cordial, you mean that he can communicate with you, correct?
Yes, we greeted, yes.
Okay, but you're
Talked
not,
about Samantha.
you're not hanging out, you're not spending time together, you and Mr. Landry, correct?
He's come over and chilled at my home with Samantha there while picking her up for about an hour to hour and a half.
Okay, and so on this particular day, let me stop. You gave your niece a telephone, correct?
I did give her a phone.
Okay, and what was the purpose of giving her the second phone?
The purpose was initially her phone broke. And then I allowed her to keep the phone because she told me that she didn't feel comfortable a lot of times, and her dad would isolate her and not allow her to communicate with anyone, including her own grandmother.
Okay, and so this phone you gave to her because you were told that she was unable to communicate with you and the grandmother, correct?
No, that is not correct. That is not what I said. She told me that she was uncomfortable and and she was scared, and that her father would take her phone and not allow her to even communicate with her grandmother.
Okay, but you testified that she was allowed to come over to your house and allowed to talk to you, correct?
She was
Okay,
at times.
okay, and she was allowed to go over to grandmother's too, correct?
She was at times.
And you've indicated that you gave her this phone, you know, she could use it to communicate with you. Did you tell her to conceal the phone or not tell her dad that she had?
No, I didn't tell her to conceal it or not tell her father that she had it.
And so on the day that you are alleging this incident occurred, did you receive a text from your niece?
I did.
Okay, and you've indicated that you didn't call the police because the doors were locked to the house, correct?
Eventually, yes.
Okay, and so this would have been at night, correct?
Correct.
That the doors were locked.
Correct.
And so you wait until the next day and you call the police then,
Yes.
correct? May I have a few moments, Your Honor? And so other than the interactions that you have, Mr. Landry, when he's picking up and dropping off your niece, do you have any other social interactions with Mr. Landry, independent of your niece?
No.
Has your niece indicated to you that she wants to come live with you?
She's indicated to me that she doesn't feel safe with her father and she only feels safe with me.
Okay, and so would that be a yes or no to my question? Has she indicated that she wants to come live with you?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Over here, Judge. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Any other witnesses for the people?
No further witnesses.
For the defense?
No, Your Honor.
People?
Your Honor, at this time, the people move for a binding over as charged with reserve argument.
Ms. White?
And Your Honor, I'm objecting to the bind over. Mr. Landry is charged with felonious assault, indicating that the extension court was the weapon used, and he's also charged with child abuse, third, which requires a knowing and intentionally causing physical harm to the child. I would just argue that certainly there'll be issues that are going to be a question of fact or a trier of fact, such as the bruises, why they're round bruises and not bruises that would be indicative of being hit with a cord, and just the way some of the injuries look will certainly be a question of fact, but the court can look at that in a preliminary exam as well in determining whether there is probable cause to charge on each of these charges. And I'm asking the court to do so. I believe that the testimony calls into question some of the injuries based on the aunt indicating that the child wants to come live with her, that there has been animosity between she, the aunt, and Mr. Landry,
and that the aunt has made at least one previous attempt to try and wrest custody from Mr. Landry. And that the child has expressed a desire to come and live with the aunt. I believe that that testimony certainly calls into question whether there's probable cause on the count of felonious assault and child abuse in the 3rd degree, and I'm asking the court not to bind over.
Well, Judge, we heard testimony from the complainant about the injuries. We also saw the exhibits 1, 2, 3 that were admitted. As far as the bruising, I'll say I'm looking at these injuries, and the complainant testified that the extension cord was folded or moved over, and that she was hit with that part of it. I'm looking at horseshoe-shaped welt that exactly matches what she's talking about. So I don't think there's any mystery about the shape of those injuries. But given that she was hit with what she described as a stiff extension cord at the point of bruising and breaking the skin, I think clearly, based on her testimony, there was an intentional act, and that she suffered injuries as a result of this. I think people had all the elements that they were required to meet. And as far as bias, prejudice, and all that, I don't think there's any confusion here that based on the testimony of both Samantha and her aunt, that she doesn't feel safe there. Of course, she's motivated with her fear for her safety, and her aunt as well seems to be concerned about the safety of her niece in that home. So yes, she's biased, she's motivated, but it's clear what those motivations are, and I don't think they're nefarious. So people move her mind.
All right, so there's a fine line between discipline and abuse. I think those of us from the African American community have been hit with extension cords, shoes, maybe bats, broomsticks, fists, feet, and a lot of other things. But when that discipline leaves marks like these, we have bruises, cuts, and that type of thing. And I think we've gone beyond the discipline that is reasonable. That whenever you leave permanent marks on a child, bruising like this, then that screams abuse. Although the auntie may be motivated to get the child from her father, doesn't take away what was done. What may have started out as discipline and overboard whenever you leave these kinds of clips, scratches, marks, and bruises on the child. The statute reads child abuse, 3rd degree, did knowingly or intentionally cause physical harm to a child. I submit to you that the bruises and the scratches, clips that was left on this child will qualify as physical harm. The court is satisfied to do that with their burden of probable cause as relates to count 2, child abuse 3rd degree, as relates to count 1, assault with a dangerous weapon. Those items that would ordinarily be a dangerous weapon, if fashioned as such, could in fact be a dangerous weapon, not a dangerous weapon. And if you leave these kinds of injuries behind on a child, then it would be a dangerous weapon if you fashion it as such. An extension cord, even a pencil, a pen, whatever, could be a dangerous weapon. So the court is satisfied to admit their burden of probable cause as relates to count 1 as well. The court finding those charges were committed in the city of Detroit. The court finding probable cause to believe this has been committed will bind the defendant over to Wayne County 3rd Circuit Court. Criminal Division is arraigned on the information date and time will be August 14, 2024 at 9:00 a.m. And bond will be continued if there's no objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you for tuning into this video. Put it in the comments. How do you